Namaste and welcome to ICDA's online session. We would like to thank all our members and guests who have joined us for your continuous support to us while we host these online sessions, and we've been continuing to do them for the past 2 years almost every weekend. We take a moment to recognize our late founder, Sri N. Gopakumar. Thank you, sir, for putting this team together. This evening, we are extremely excited to host an informal discussion session with Dr. Janaki Rangarajan, a Bharatanatyam exponent. We like to keep today's evening informal, like I mentioned, and have it very interactive with the audience. So I'm going to keep my introduction of the artist very brief, but let me do my formalities. Dr. Janaki Rangarajan represents the new age of Bharatanatyam. She started her tutelage at the age of 4. Her first guru, Srimati Madhavi Chandrasekhar. Later, at the age of 7, she joined Padma Subramaniam and continued to learn under the great artist for 15 years. For more than 18 years, she has been now on her own, performing and taking workshops across the globe. Her unique style has received excellent reviews from critics around the world, and they have described her as amazing as a spellbinder and as the most gifted artist of today. She's also trained in Carnatic vocal music and Veena. Thank you, Janaki ma'am, for joining us this evening and officially welcoming you to ICDA's online series. Namaste and welcome. Janaki ma'am, the first point I wanted to discuss was something I heard in one of your previous interviews where you were talking about when you decided to take dance as your partner for life. You spent 5 years practicing your adavus and karmas.
I don't know where you came across this, but that's a very important. That is a very important time in my life. I also want to request, if you can, participants, if you can pull your video up, that will be great. I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of how do you say, just small little photos. I would like a little bit more human interaction. It still feels very raw for me when I'm looking at small little photos. But thanks for pulling yourself up. If you please, can you please bring the video up so that I know that I'm talking to humans. I need that. I know that many of us need that after this long pandemic. But that was a very important time for me. So this was a few decades back when I knew that dance was always part of my life. Okay, let's start there. Okay, there is not a point in my life where Bharatanatyam was not there. So I'm really thankful for that attitude that was inculcated in me since I was young, that art is as important as everything else. So it was always important that I kept that with me throughout whatever I did, all my schooling, college, and academics and everything. But there came at a point of time when I was actually doing my postdoctoral studies, and I did not quite focus. I did not focus. I was very scattered. You know what I mean? I was not focusing. I did whatever I supposed to do, but my mind was always scattered and it was yearning for something else. It was a very weird phase in my life. Then I had to figure that out as to why I was not giving my all to what I was supposed to do. I was getting paid for this. I was not giving my all, and it was not a very nice thing to do. So then I figured that it was just that there was this kind of worm in my head that I really wanted to just focus on dance and dance alone. I would find myself thinking about dance only. Any music I would hear, I would just choreograph. I would think about how I can bring it to a visual sense for me. I would read about it. So completely I was dissolving and going more and more into what was my partner, and understood that that was actually my partner. Until then, the realization was not there. That was the love of my life. Until then, it was a search, right? I'm still seeking. I'm a seeker still. But until then, it was a big search, and at that point of time, I kind of realized that that was what I wanted to embrace throughout my life, and for that, I had to be ready. Even though I was given all the necessary skills theoretically and practically, that is not enough, I believe. A self awareness of where you are in this art form is very important, and that cannot be given by anybody. Nobody can give you that. That is something that only your own sadhana on the floor every day gives that to you. And you have to do it very methodically and very patiently. And any kind of rush or how do I say urgency, I want to do this. There is no quick. That is why it took me 5 years, because there is no quick. And I was willing to spend that time because it is like an investment. How do we invest in other things that we do, don't we? We invest a lot in other things that we want to take as profession, whatever it is. Same way we have to do it in this field also. We have to invest, we have to do some sacrifice. And it was not a sacrifice. I don't want to use that word, but it was something that was much needed. And I personally believed it was needed for me as a person, as a dancer, as a seeker. It was needed for me. It is a very personal journey for me. And I did a lot of thinking during that time. The awareness grew, and I knew how hard this journey was. So I knew that what I was getting into, by that end of 5 years, I was very clear that there is no turning back, come what may, and I have to look forward and keep working hard. There is no point of time in this field where you cannot work hard. Doesn't matter how far you go, really. But it was a beautiful phase. It was a self-reflective phase. It was beautiful. Yeah, it was. I wish. I really hope people do that kind of. Maybe not 5 years, but sometime take time to self-reflect on the floor.
So, ma'am, today the press they describe you as a truly amazing, a spellbinder. Do you contribute those 5 years that you have put in to the unique style that people say that you have?
Very true. That is exactly what it is. So to understand what this art form means to you, how do you surrender to it? That first it's physical, right? I mean, but ultimately that physicality needs to come from your mental surrender and emotional understanding of your relationship with this art form. And those 5 years kind of made me understand what really this instrument means. What can this instrument do? And what it really wants to do. How can it contribute to the art form? So I'm only contributing to it. I'm not, as much as people say this and that, it's only I'm an instrument. I always think like that. So how can I add to what is there in the field? So those 5 years were pivotal in that understanding.
Yes,
It was. By the way, it was just those 5 years were predominantly Adava and foundation practice only. It was just back and forth, doing your Adava, doing my. I'm also from a very early age. I've been inculcated in the Karana practice also. So it was a very deep understanding of these two vocabularies inside my body, and it has to seamlessly flow. I wanted it to be in my blood, not even in my muzzle. It has to flow in my blood, and I made sure that it has to be in my blood. No more muzzle memory. It has to flow. As I flow, the blood flows, the movements flow. That's very important for me. That's how I look at it.
And ma'am, I think to add on, you are also very passionate about yoga, and that has also contributed a lot. In fact, today probably performers are more aware of their body. They do cross training, but still, let's say at a student level, do you think it is still not given a lot of importance?
This pandemic has done some beautiful things to us. It put us inside, it put us understand, made us understand who we are and what we need, because we are always like going here and there and running around. It made us sit and reflect. And in that reflection, and especially because this age, the new, the youngsters today are um, very aware through the social media realm. There has been a lot of talk about this yoga and cross training and everything from many different dancers, not only Bharatanatyam, but all different realms of different dancers coming to the social media and talking about how they practice, what they follow, whatever it is. I think it's brought such good awareness. I'm really thankful for that aspect. So I think these 2 years has taught, especially the youngsters, how they need to process themselves in this journey. I believe that pre-pandemic, maybe not as much, but I'm not just going to negate, but I don't know everybody and everything that they do. But I think the awareness has definitely grown, and people are more enthusiastic about listening to not just, a choreography or a technique or whatever it is, but the process that brings you to do it, to do that. What is it? What does it take to hone this instrument? I think that's really beautiful, and that's happened. So this is good. No, from here we will all grow, right? We already have the pointers, and there's so much. Also, there is so much information coming from all different. If you're somebody that's following so many people, you're getting information from left, right, and center. I also want to tell youngsters here who are listening to me, know how to filter. Listen carefully. Not everything applies to you. But think about your body. What applies to your body? Understand your body before you put everything on top of that. You know what I mean? Hope that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am. So let me take a logical break here. I'd let the audience maybe come in with a few of their questions before we go back to the discussion again.
Let me be the first person to ask the question. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm in my night dress and multitasking, so I'm not able to switch on my camera.
No, no problem. Night dress, day dress, it's all good in social media. You just have to put a coat on. You become night dress, day dress. You become formal already. But anyway, I know.
Well, kitchen doesn't permit that. So before I start, Reshma, are you please recording this session? Okay, cool. Because one participant asked me whether this session is recorded. Ma'am, my question to you, ma'am, those 5 years when you went back to Adavas, were you at that time experimenting karnas with Adavas? And I find a lot of movements in your dance, which is very striking and very spectacular. So, or you were just revising your basics, whatever is taught traditionally, Tatadavu, not Tadavu, like that. Or were you exploring the Adavas then?
The way I learned movements, there was no segregation between Adavas and Karanas. So that is where I come from. I come from a very different tangent. Today we say Adavas, today we say Karanas. But in my subconscious, there is no difference at all, because that's how I was trained. I was trained very young, at a very impressionable age, where there was no bifurcation. Of course, names, the theory part of it was given. But for some reason in my head, there is no difference when I dance. I don't know if I'm explaining it well to you. So there is no saying, okay, this is a Karana, so I practice this. This is Adavis, so I practice this. It's not like that. It is foundation for me, that's all. I practice it because it's a foundational movement for me. So for me personally, I'm not saying that there is no difference. Please understand, okay? There is difference for people who come at it at a later stage in their life. Personally, for me, there was no difference. So when I practiced, I would take anything that was foundational and keep going over it again and again and again and again and again. That is how I did it. I knew what was the seventh Tattadava, I knew what was the Kuttadava, I knew what was the Madhya Tadava. But when I practiced, it was not, I would do a Madhya Tadava and then suddenly jump to a Karana or just a Chari or a Sthana or Rittahasa. Just like that, I would just go back and forth. And my style is a reflection of the fact that I don't have any bifurcation between movements. It is just a flow of movements based on what I'm hearing, what I'm reading, how I want the music to be visualized. That's all. So there was no, it was a very organic process, right? It was very organic. It was, I didn't say, okay, I need to make a style. At no point of time I wanted to do it. It just became that, that's all. I danced in very particular way and it became a style. I don't even have name for it and all those things. I don't believe I don't want a name. It's whatever. So does it answer your question?
Awesome. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So there was no like, it was foundation, end of story. This is what makes you strong in whatever you are trying to do, end of story. So whatever it is, you practice that again and again and again.
Thank you, Lavanya. We can maybe take one more question from the audience before we go back. Again, in a previous interview which I was seeing, you mentioned you have a love for poetry. So what is it that inspires you to select a particular piece to work on?
I read a lot. That is something that I did not do when I was younger, much younger. I did not do it. And sometimes I beat myself because I wish I came to it at a younger stage of my life. But then that is for the past at least couple of decades, that is part of my ritual every day. If you can call it that. It's something I have to do for the day to end. And part of that reading is not just poetry, prose also, but I have this, I can't write poems. You know what I mean? I really can't. I don't have that skill. And I know that that is not me. So I'm always in awe of people who can play with these words in such a beautiful way. That is one thing. And the point of view and perspectives that poetry gives you is something that's phenomenal. Sometimes it's just two verses, and there is a whole world of something that is inside it. You just have to read in between the lines, in between the words. You have to read the silences that is going on, the pauses, the commas and the semicolons, the capitalizations, and all the beautiful things that poet has. And when actually it's better than reading when you can listen to the poet read it. It's even more phenomenal because there's a tonal quality to what is being written. So all these things, I've always loved poetry. First, because I cannot do it, and I'm in awe of people who can write beautiful poems. Second is, it is something that we are all used to, right? As dancers, it's only poetry that we are attracted to, and that is what comes out in our performances. Everything is poem. So that is something that is a very basic thing that is very common to all of us. But for me, it is just the fact that it is so beautifully said. Even a small thing, for example, let's just take, okay, this chapstick. Somebody can write a poem about this chapstick. It's amazing, right? I cannot. I will say the chapstick is red and that's not poetry. Maybe today it becomes poetry or whatever. I'm talking about those deep poems that really bring really talk about. Sometimes it is sometimes feels like they're talking about you and you have to realize it. So things like that really. Still today, I read a lot, and I wish it's not possible to even bring everything that I read into performance. I wish there was a way to like all the poetry that I've read. I wish I could bring everything into like visualization. That would be so awesome because there's so much that is out there. So yeah, that is something that's very beautiful for myself, and I'm learning. I need to keep learning. I don't, and this process is so nice. No, I feel like every time I learn something, there's so much I don't know, and makes me feel bad and good at the same time because I can keep learning. Then it's not stopped.
So So this is a question that has come in from one of our members. So the question is, when a work is picked up, it can be a solo work or it might demand a group or a collaboration. So the question is, how can one decide if a person is ready to go into a group or a collaboration or should stick to only solo? Is it just based on the work chosen or is it the artist's ability?
I think it's based on the way you look at art, right? Itself. Your understanding of the art and your relationship with it. If you are collaborating or you're doing group work, I mean, the group work under a guidance of a guru, that is a different thing. But if you are yourself, you're a solo artist, you're by yourself, you're going to collaborate with somebody regarding a work, the frequency needs to match. Because if you come at it at a certain from a certain angle and they are coming at it from a different, it's really not going to work for anybody, right? It's going to confuse. Basically, there is no unless this is what it is. Whatever it is, whether it's group or solo, there should be clarity in what you have presented, right? How can you bring the clarity and greater understanding of what you are doing or the depth of the research that you've done? If that clarity can only be achieved through solo work, if you can't find anybody that can help you with bringing that clarity, then there's no point collaborating at all. And also the energies. If you need different kind of energies to bring forth that project, any project can be done solo or group. I mean, not any project. I mean, some of them may not be, but mostly many projects can be done as either solo or group, but it all depends on what kind of energy you want to bring to that project. And sometimes that collaborative energy is really good. I mean, we see a lot today, different people collaborating, whether even online. I mean, during the peak of the pandemic, we saw people from different parts of the world bringing in sections from wherever they are and putting together a presentation. It was great. I mean, it was amazing to see that getting done, which we at least I have not seen before like that. Before pre-pandemic, I have not experienced that myself. So it is how clear, what is the level of clarity you can bring to the project, whether it is by solo, you can bring the clarity, you need people to come together to do it, and also whether it will add. If the group is going to add to whatever you are doing, yes, that group project is good. Otherwise, if you can do it just by doing solo, if you can bring everything together, yeah, that's fine. I'm a solo artist. So most of the time I'm on my own. But sometimes if I collaborate with musicians, I need to make sure that they are on the same track, same level of research and understanding as me, so that we can bring out the product in a proper manner. Otherwise, it's very confusing. It's just a mix of everything. Just for the sake of doing it, shouldn't be doing anything at all. It should be organic process.
And something on similar lines, ma'am. You also talk about the importance of having peer reviews. But very often, not just dancers, artists sort of see each other as competitors rather than colleagues. What is it that does not break that wall? What do you feel about that?
Reshma, things are better today, actually. Today, I find a little bit more friendly atmosphere between dancers, with peers. I mean, people supporting each other, encouraging each other with work, giving their viewpoints, sitting for rehearsals and things like that. It was not the case a few decades back. It is definitely not. I came up in a time where that was unfortunately not the case, and it was a huge uphill climb. So I feel like things have really changed. And why is peer review so important? Because sometimes when we are doing our piece, it is so special to us that we fail to see the void or something that's lacking in it. We fail to see. It is our baby. So we find everything special in what we do. To put ourselves in third person and look at a work, is sometimes really difficult, although all artists should do that at some point of time. Pull yourself away from your work and look at it. Because editorial work is as important as creative work. You have to know how to edit your work so that it's presentable to the audience and doesn't overwhelm them. Too much information or too less information, neither is not going to work. So these peer reviews, what they do is they come at the work from a different angle. It's not personal to them, right? So they come at the work from a different angle and they give you viewpoints that it may be very beneficial for you in terms of reworking on your work. A work is continuously growing. Just because you staged it once doesn't mean that it stagnates, and it should not. As you grow, as you grow with years, the work should also grow with you. The same Padavarnam cannot look the same 10 years, 20 years. It cannot. Based on your experience and your life, wherever you are in life, that also changes. So that peer review, that constructive criticism is very much important for performing artists like us. It's very important. But it has to be constructive. It has to be a critique. It's a very important to differentiate between something that's randomly thrown at you and something that is thought about and discussed with you. A lot of people, it's easy to say, oh, it's beautiful, oh, it's this. But when you ask people, what is beautiful? Why did you say it was beautiful? Why did you say it? Why did you use that word beautiful? Then they should be able to help you understand why they think it's beautiful. Or if they say, oh, it was okay. It was okay. I didn't understand. I disagree. Or I don't like it. Then it begs the question, what is it? So you have to understand that. It is not just enough for you to just hear, okay, it's not good. And then, they said it was not good. And become all, don't do that. Instead, if you know the person, you can't do that when there is just social media comments and things like that. But if you're with a person who brings that comment, then you should ask that question, what did you disagree with? What did you not like? So that you have a better understanding. And if that is something that can be applied, then apply. So again, filtering happens. Not every critiquing is useful to you. Not everything. But then how do you know which one is useful, which one is not? Let life happen. You have to be more and more. You have to grow in the field. You have to know it. With time, you will know which is good, which is not good, which works for you, which does not work for you. So things like that, you need to, like a swan, segregate between water and milk. But so sometimes I've been fighting against this criticism that comes from nothing. It comes from no knowledge. When something does not come from a place of knowledge, let it go through 1 year, let it go through the other year. There is no need to even give any. It's not useful. How useful is it? Somebody is trying to put you down. What's the point? Without helping you, putting you down, what's the point? That's that.
Very true. Very true. So let me just take a pause.
Also, let me add one more thing. As much as we look at critiques and understand it, we should also understand why a good, favorable comment came. We never analyze that, right? We only analyze the unfavorable comment. So that is what we look into. But what is it that was positive, we need to understand that also. Why did they think in such a way? That is usually not delved into.
So there is a question from Lokesh. Lokesh, I see you're on the call. Would you like to address your question?
Yes. Hello, ma'am. I have just this is a very commonly asked question, right? But I thought I would like to hear your interpretation, your answer to these questions. We are busy with our mundane work, and I'm not an artist actually, but I do follow, artists on the social media and try to attend as many events as possible. But like I'm an engineer. Uh, I do understand passion and getting lost in one's own work and trying to become better. So this is a very generic question I'm trying to ask. Basically, like how to find and how to shape oneself. How to become excellent, like on a daily basis.
In our field, it's called sadhana, which means that you self motivate yourself, get up every morning and go to the floor and do what it takes to get yourself better at your art. I'm not sure if I'm answering because it's a very generic answer also I'm
Correct,
giving you. Is
correct,
there any
correct.
particular, because it's very generic what I'm telling you. I mean, most of you, if most of you are dancers, you know what I'm talking about. This is something we hear all the time. Teachers tell us, gurus tell us, this is something that we also practice. But that's a very generic answer. Is there any particular aspect
Yes,
of that you are looking for me to
yes.
answer? That'll be better.
You said filter. Initially when you were talking about some other topic, you said we learn to filter. So that is something problem which I face. Like I end up reading a lot of things, end up trying to do a lot of things, and at the end, like I become master of none. Okay, and then I realize I've wasted a lot of time.
No, but see, no, you've not wasted time. No, let me just ask you, what is knowledge?
Knowledge
What do
is
you think knowledge is?
wisdom. Like
What is wisdom?
knowing the right path, how to proceed, how to get
And how
better.
do you know your path?
How do I know? Like I consume information, I observe others, and I
No,
rely on what I've already learned.
correct. So what basically that means is there is no wasting of time by reading everything. You know what I mean? I mean, unless you don't know what is bad between the difference between bad or good, there is no way that you can know that something works for you. Know what I mean? So it is not that immediately you have to only read only certain things to become good. It doesn't work that way. So knowledge is this place where you are constantly like a trishanku. You're hanging in between. You're finding that's the place where you are trying to find where the next footstep is, where you can step next. And for that you have to delve into different spaces. You can't say that space is not good for me. I mean, unless you clearly know that's a bad space, you don't want to go there. But there are so many gray spaces in our life that we don't know. You know what I mean?
Correct. I mean, a lot of
Because we
things
are
are interesting.
constantly conditioned that certain things are good, certain things are bad.
Yes, I mean, there are a lot of things which are very interesting, right? Like only after you consume, you end up seeing like maybe this was not required.
Correct. You may not use it in your life, but that doesn't mean that it is not knowledgeable for you. It is not knowledge for you. Do you understand what I'm talking about? You may not actively use it in your life. It may not be part of your everyday life. It may even just sit in your back of your head and you may forget it. But you never know what it's going to be of use later in life. How do you know what the future holds? So when you said master of none, you're not master of none. Let's not talk about master at all. Why are we constantly trying to be master of anything?
Because
That's something that's
we are all
inculcated in us, right? We
yes.
have to be master of something. We are seekers. We are
Mhm.
not masters, we are seekers. And we are in a journey. Constantly we are in a journey. That's a better journey to be.
Agree.
When you constantly seek, right? I mean, at least that's what I think. I'm sorry, I'm not telling
No,
you to
no,
do
I
that.
think that the word seeker hit me. I think I will take it from there.
So we are constantly seeking what, because, at least for me, people who have following me for many years now at least know that I'm high into activism to start with. And I'm constantly seeking and I'm trying to push the boundaries at certain points. Because I grew up in a very traditional household. I was told certain things cannot be done, which I have done later in life, which is not wrong actually. And I come from a privileged background, yet the point where I'm not privileged is my gender. Still, it is a problem for many of us. I come from a class privilege, not a gender privilege still. When you say privilege, it's not a blanket statement. We cannot just say, okay, you're privileged. Some of us are privileged only in certain ways. So I'm constantly seeking and trying to empower myself in spaces which are told that I cannot be. And that is knowledge for me. That is my knowledge. I may sound a little abstract, but those gray spaces are what are giving you some spaces. Clearly, you know that's knowledgeable. Some spaces you don't know, and those spaces are, I think, I think it's like going into a maze and finding your way out. You know what I mean? That's
Correct.
challenging. That's life. That's life. You know, I find a lot of energy in it. I like doing that. I like going into the maze and finding out where I land. I'm okay with taking the risk. I'm okay with having a bad fall. I'm okay with it. I've come to that place where I'm okay with it. Are you okay with it? That's for you to find. And please don't think that you're not gaining anything. You are. You're speaking to me. We're having this conversation that's coming out of all the reading that you've done, right? You're thinking. You're thinking. That itself is a great thing. Not a lot of people think these days.
Correct.
Which is also my thing. A lot of people don't think. They just, if somebody says something, we take it just like that. We don't think, we don't sit, we don't ponder over what was just given to us.
I mean, interestingly, the reason I'm onto this event is like I follow you on Instagram. Some of the questions and thoughts you put out, I'll be thinking, but you would have framed it so beautifully. And after I read it, okay, yeah, I mean, the way you articulate it makes so much of sense, you know. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Thank you for answering my question.
We all stand on strong shoulders of people before us who have been thinkers.
Correct.
And we stand on those shoulders and we owe it to them for who we are today. We do. They may not have been part of our life actively, but in some way they have given us the power to think. The power to think is probably the superpower that we have. That's beautiful. With that process, we can grow into beautiful beings. We're not born beautiful. We grow into beautiful beings. That's what it is.
Okay.
And I hope you seek beautifully and you find yourself. At least that is what I'm trying to do. I'm still trying to find myself. It's going to be, it's nice. It's nice in that journey. It's nice.
Thank you for your wise words.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I found a new, I know it's there. I mean, but what you said, like you're seeking, you're not trying to master. It makes a lot of sense. It takes out a lot of the burden, you know.
It does. Why are we always considering master and jack of all trades, master of none? Why are we catering to that ideology?
I think we are lost in, you know, trying to become productive.
It's so like, how do you say? At least from where I come from, of my understanding, there were always been seekers in this subcontinent. Nobody said there was a master. I'm not a master. Have you ever heard that? Like, it is so Victorian sometimes for me. Right? It's so Victorian. I don't want that. You know, I don't want that.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
But ma'am, I think the world is going backwards because now again everyone is into competition, getting it there, being
You
first.
think so? Yeah. You think so? Well, we have a certain schooling system, right? How they say, don't let education get in the way of your knowledge. So today's education may or may not cater to your knowledge base. Actually, that is how it has become. You have to do this. You have to be. It's fine. There is a certain things. I'm not saying it's wrong because I was also educated in that particular way, but there was definitely more freedom. There was lack of freedom, and there was. It's very abstract what I'm saying. Even so, when we were not supposed. When I was a student, we were not supposed to ask questions. You know, asking questions was like, you know, Adana Prasingatanam. In Tamil, there is a word. How many of you understand that? I cannot translate it. It's like, you are just being like all boorish like that. So we didn't ask questions, but the same way, not, it did not come, it was more free flowing. Education was a little bit more free flowing for me. I did not find the pressure in my head all the time. Yes, I had to get good grades and everything, but this kind of like, you have to do this, you have to do this. But also, I grew up in the generation of engineers and doctors, and I chose to rebel against it. So I'm not becoming either of those. So let's figure this out. So I don't know. Competition is there, but maybe it has become a little bit more healthy. No, healthy competition is actually good because it makes you understand yourself and where you are. It just cannot be unhealthy, I think. Let's just hope it's healthy, that's all. I'm sorry that I'm not, I don't know, I feel like now this generation is a little bit more giving, I think. I mean, not this gen or at least this place, maybe post-pandemic, participants need to tell me, because there's a lot of giving that is happening over the pandemic phase, at least.
One more question from the audience before we go back. Do we have anyone else with a question? There is one on chat. This is again from Lavanya. A very specific question. What are the methods by which we can research a padam or kirtanam and come up with various interpretations? Okay. Google at times gives very little scope to delve deeper.
Okay. So the answer to that is, if you're taking composition, padam, kirtana, varnam, doesn't matter what it is. You take a composition, first is a basic understanding of the point of view of the composer. That's it. That's a basic research you need to do. If you don't know that, you're not getting into any other point of views at all. If you have to know the basic POV beyond going to other POVs. So first understand, including the background of the composer, because when the composition was written is very important to understand why the composition was written. When? Because there's so much history in our subcontinent, so many phases, right? We went through again and again. Suddenly there's Bhakti literature. Before that, the pre-Bhakti, post-Bhakti. There's so many things that has happened. And the invasions, the migrations, so many things have happened. So it is very important to understand the background of the composer, of course, the essence of the words and why the particular words were used, why the particular ragam was used. It all starts there. From there you start and you understand the sthai bhava, if it's a naika, what that naika or naika is, which stage of life are they, what are they doing, what is their life, to delve a little into their, what is their psyche. You have to understand that. And then look at POVs. Can the same words be used in a different situation, right? What are the different situations that the same words might be used, or the same situation but coming from a different angle? But Google Akka will only give that much. But it is a very good instrument. You have to read. You have to find a person who is knowledgeable in these things and talk with them. Language matters for that, The tonal quality of the word matters. It is not just the word used. The tonal quality of the words can completely change the meaning of the word and how it is used in a composition. By reading, do you know the tonal quality? You don't. You have to look at the language expert. You have to work with the person who is ingrained in that language. And especially if that person is also knowledgeable in that particular subject area. For example, padam or padavarnam or kirtana or whatever it is. You need to, if you find that person, you really need to work with that person and understand it thoroughly. Then only POVs can happen. So this is my understanding, and this is the way I look at compositions, and hopefully that will work for you also.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. One more question from the audience, please. Okay, then, ma'am, maybe we can touch upon the next topic that you're very dear about talking, which is payment, paid to watch, get paid to perform. And we just talked about how during the pandemic period, everyone has been so giving. Has that, in a certain way, there is now a hurricane of information, online events. Are we now conditioning our audience to believe that they can now get away with logistics and payments because everything is now available online?
Yeah, that is one thing that is a drawback, actually. I agree with you. At least initially during the pandemic, we all did. We all put stuff online, including me. But later on, at least from mid 2021 onwards, there has been ticketed events. Even if it's online, everything has been ticketed. And I hope people are paying to watch, and there is enough audience for that kind of those kind of events. But that has actually given us another channel to bring our art form to the audience, which is good. But the problem still is there. Artists are not compensated enough. Still, artists are not compensated enough. It is out of pocket most of the time. This is bitter truth, and I'm just not sugarcoating it. That's all. It is out of pocket. It doesn't matter where you are. Many times it is out of pocket. You do it out of pocket. The problem with out of pocket is the audience are not paying to watch. That is where it starts. If the audience don't pay to watch, how are we going to sustain? How are the organizers going to sustain? Through that payment is the payment for the logistics that happens, the auditorium, the other things. For example, if you're taking a video of what you're doing and it's a very good quality video shoots cost. And then what about the labor for the artist? The artist's labor is probably the lowest in the rung. Our labor is not considered anything at all, unfortunately. It is not. When you see something, when you see good art, there's so much labor that goes. But it's not the same with other professions, no? We don't segregate labor. It's all the same. You work, you get paid. But for us, it is not like that. It is still a problem. And how do we eradicate it? Free mentality. How do you eradicate free mentality? If I don't give it free, somebody else is going to give it free. End of story. If I don't perform, somebody else is going to perform. Supply is more than demand in this field. Supply is more than demand. So if today I say, okay, you're not paying me this much, I'm not doing it. There are 1,000 people who are willing to do it. Isn't this the truth of the day? How are we going? How is an artist, the artist fraternity that coming together and joining hands and saying, okay, we will all not do it if you don't pay us. It's not there. That is where your thing comes. If she doesn't do it, it's one person clear. That space is for me. That's how we look at it, right? If that space is not occupied, that space is for me. So why should I sabotage my opportunity? I don't care if I'm paid or not. Second thing, when there's class privilege, people don't care about, if you're financially well, people don't care about payment. Why? Why don't we? So I have this much, I still have this much, this much money, I will pay. It's okay, I can still sustain. Why do we say that? Regardless of how well off you are, don't you need to get paid for the work that you do? Shouldn't that be the thing? And not how rich or how well off you are? So unfortunately, in this field, that unity is not there. We come together and say, look, if the organizers don't pay, if the audience don't pay for good art, I'm not doing. I'm not talking about these small things that you put on social media and everything. I'm talking about big projects that really cost a lot. Do we have that unity? I'm asking all those people here. Do you think like that? You always say, okay, I'll find the money. Somehow I will adjust. These are the things that we do. I will adjust. This program, I will adjust and do it. Somehow I will do it. On the other side, I also understand the point with youngsters. They cannot do it. They cannot risk it, right? Whatever I'm saying, I can say it. They can say it. Janaki can say it because she's in a position where she can say it. It doesn't matter to her. It matters to me. That one opportunity matters to me. And if it means that next month I will not be able to pay for something else, I'll have to pay for this performance, I will do it because that opportunity matters to me. That is where we are in the field right now. How you all need to find a solution to this. I've given you the problem. I've given you where the problem is. Are we willing to all come together? There should be something. There should be something that should be done for this issue because it won't sustain, right? Art field won't sustain. It will just implode. How long can you pay for everything? Pay for music, pay for video, pay for auditorium, pay for accommodation, local transport, going to that place, how many, pay for costumes, pay for jewelry. So much. It is not one thing or the other. These are the issues. But there is no solution at all, Reshma. Where is the solution? Where is the solution, Reshma? How can I ask youngsters to say no to an opportunity, knowing very well that if they say no, there are thousands more waiting to take that place? How can I tell a youngster, say no? At the same time, how can I tell a youngster that this is not a paying field? A very good student, a very talented student, how can I tell them, look, it's not sustainable initially? How can I tell them? There's somebody who's written, it just popped up. Can you see that chat? Yes, I hope those festivals, the dancers who are performing are also getting paid. That is very important. Turning into organizer is not a biggie at all. Anybody can turn into organizer. I really hope in those festivals also that the payment for the performers is done well.
Excuse me, no.
Compensated for that really well.
No, that's what I meant, that they also don't really pay.
Okay, then we come back. We come to stage.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So they also adorn the additional hat of successful organizer.
You ask for somebody's art. You know that piece of their work. You need to pay. It's period. That is all it is. Don't ask them. Why do you want to be an organizer if you cannot pay? Okay, that is another question I have for organizers. If you cannot charge the audience, if you cannot pay the performers, why in the world are you organizing? What nonsense are you doing? Who are you helping?
No, but when I've seen this, they get grants from, and they get part grants that will probably meet the expenses of the stage and things like that.
Correct,
and then again, the performers are, at the same.
That is not nice, no? I mean, come on, that is not nice. If you get a grant, part of it needs to go for the organizational thing, part of it needs to go to the performer, right? Without the
There isn't-
performer, just without the performer, you can video shoot the stage and it'll happen.
There isn't any left for the performer. See, it's such a crazy situation. And additionally, the dancer now adorns the organizer hat.
Correct. It is, especially it happened a lot with these online festivals that happened at least early 2021, 2021, I don't know. A lot of it happened. I mean, you would open the Facebook and there would be, so every other post is about a festival. This festival, that festival, that festival, this festival. There's so many festivals that are happening back and forth. And a little part of me was definitely wondering what was the payment there. But
They are
again,
giving lots of stages, ma'am.
right, correct. So we are also at a point, right? That's why I said youngsters are at a point where they cannot ask for payment. We have put them there. We've really put them in a corner, right? You are getting opportunity. That is a big deal for you. That is what we have told them. You
Yes,
are
ma'am.
young. You are talented. You are young. But giving opportunity is a huge. Your work is not your work. If you're seeing your work, that's a huge thing for us, right? That is what we have told them. And that is highly inculcated in these youngsters. They think, okay, we shouldn't ask for payment because our work is not, I mean, pay according to the work, right? That's what I'm saying. If you're the seniors and the juniors, something you can pay, right? The juniors, something you can pay. Don't leave without a payment is what I'm saying. Pay something so that they understand, okay, my work makes sense. All the toil I have put in makes sense. And they are not frustrated. At some point in time, you're going to get frustrated if you don't get paid at all. How long will you sustain? You'll get frustrated, and then that is how we lost a lot of talented people, even to yesteryears. People who could not pay all the time. This is a deep-rooted issue, not yesterday or today or this one. This has been going from what we call boomers. And still we don't have a solution for it. But thanks for bringing those points. There is no point being an organizer. To the organizers, I ask people who say, actually, you know what? Oh, it's free. It's free is like a catchphrase these days. It's free. When I see that, why free? We latch onto it like a thing. Free means it's like, oh, it's all free. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome. Please pay something. If you don't want to have a ticket, at least say pay what you want. Something like that. You know what I mean? Just don't make it free. Free and our psyche are like, we are like twin sisters. The moment we see fee, we are like conjoined twins. We want to be with that. That needs to change. Basically, the attitude of people who are watching, that needs to change. It's not free. Are we willing to change that? But for that, each one of us should come together. Pay, if you don't want to have a particular amount, at least say pay what you want. Even if it is 50 rupees, minimum. 50 rupees is nothing these days, right? 50 rupees. Pay 50 rupees. 20 rupees, 10 rupees. For heaven's sake, pay something. Have the mentality to pay. In Europe, it happens. I don't know anybody from here in Europe. You pay. There is no art without paying. From small children, they are made to understand to pay to watch. Do we do that with our kids? Do we do that with our kids? No, we don't. We have to. We have to. That is how we change. That is how the field will change. Anyway, that's a very difficult topic, Reshma. That can go on for hours together. We can sit here, but it's up to the next gen to see what they can do. I mean, I'm voicing it, but I also know that I'm at a place of privilege as a dancer. I'm at a particular place. I know when I voice these things, I know that I can take all the risk I want and voice them. A youngster will not be able to do it. I know that.
The comment by Sharon.
That is exactly my point. That is what I'm saying. Pay whatever that level of artistry requires. Unless you are a shoddy, absolutely ridiculous dancer, yeah, you don't get no payment. First of all, you shouldn't be dancing. But you know what I mean. That is a different game altogether. But if you are a dancer, hardworking, talented, you put in you have some artistry in you, that should be compensated. That we should have in our society, regardless of your just senior artist, yes, senior artist, yes. Then only you will have the enthusiasm to grow. Okay, this is something apart from the passion that I have, something that is, will pay my bills. The electricity man is not going to say, okay, you're not getting paid, so we don't get paid. The grocery person is not going to say that. So everything we have to pay. We have to sustain. Maybe another 10 minutes, I need to leave. But there was another comment. What was it? Nandini, I think, had commented.
Yeah, that's
No, she said, but
what I'm
also the onus in on dancers.
like
Yes,
yeah, because
correct.
one doesn't hear at all the voices. I mean, this has been going on for, but the change can happen. I feel that if some senior dancers come together collectively and voice this very strongly.
I'm ready to be part of that collective voice. I'm already doing what it takes as an individual voice. I'm ready to be part of that collective voice.
Yeah,
It has to happen.
but that
I have been saying this for years now. It's not something new for me. This has been going on for years. And also another important thing is those who are ready to pay, they are the biggest problem.
exactly true.
Ayo, they are like a bug.
True, true.
Cannot get rid of them. They are ready to pay. They are ready to throw their money. Then what will the organizers? If you tell me I'm giving you 5,000, I'll definitely take the 5,000. I'm not going to say no to money, especially in the organizer place. Those who throw their money, what should we do with them then? I've talked about that also. But how can you police that? But at least in this group, okay, let the change be small but effective. We are in this group. There are 17 others I see. Let us take the pledge that we will, if we organize, we will pay whatever little we can and not be without payment. And if we organize, let us charge the audience. I mean, small way, we can all take the pledge, right? It doesn't have to be a huge social movement. It has to be a small ripple. And hopefully, you can influence your peers, your connections, you can influence them. And that's how we make the change. But we need to take that pledge and we cannot go away from it. Stay true to that pledge. I hope that will happen.
We do have
the youngsters here who are not receiving payment, I know that it's difficult to get opportunities. So I am not one to say, okay, don't dance if you don't get paid. Unfortunately, I cannot be in that position and just spewing that to you. I know how difficult it is for you in this field. So I'm not going to say it like that. But find ways to get your work compensated for. Find ways. Figure it out. Okay. That's all I have to say for you.
So, ma'am, there's a completely different topic this time from Vaishnavi. So her question is, how much must one push herself in pursuit, say practice or learning? What is the yardstick to know how much?
How much? Right. How much is dependent on what you want, right? That's your goal. What do you want? Where do you want to be? That's your yardstick. And it should not be in comparison to anyone. It should be out of self-reflection. You should have thought about yourself carefully to find where you want to be. It should not be like seeing this, that, this. Okay, get inspired. See everything, watch others, get inspired, but always have a thought process after that, is what I always say. Whatever you see, have a thought process. And with that thought process, you have to reflect on where you are and what your capabilities, what your strengths are, where you are vulnerable. With that, you find where you want to be, what you want to do in this field. And that should be the yardstick of how much effort you need to put to get there. Make sense? I hope it makes sense.
So ma'am, before we close, we talked about a lot of topics. Very briefly, we touched about poetry as well.
Yeah.
Can we end with something that inspired you lately?
I don't have the poetry in front of me, but hopefully I'm trying to, you'll see it on my Insta page soon. There is a very strong poetry that I was reading and I want to bring it forth. So for now, I don't have it in front of me. I'll be honest, I'm not going to spew something by saying, oh, I was influenced, but there is a very specific poem that I was very much moved by it. And so in the next couple of weeks, maybe I will put it on Insta page and you can see what has moved me lately. But, you know, every day there is something that moves me. And it is not just, you know, it is just also being into activism. A lot of news move me also. It is not just poems, stories, something that's happened recently affects me deeply. And that is why sometimes I write certain things on social media. My very close loved ones are like, why do you indulge in these controversial things? But then it does move me. If we are neutral to everything, then what is the point? If it has to affect personally for us to move something, then are we still human? I have that question in me and I am actually trying to seek the answer for that. Do I have to be affected personally for something to move me? Is that what being human is, or what is it? What is it that being human means to me? Being human means to me. So anyway, so not right now, but hopefully soon. Yeah, I want to send my best wishes to everyone that had joined the session today, and I hope I made some sense to you with this session, whatever I was able to share with you. So I'm not able to see everybody on the video, but wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope it brings you joy every day, and you are at a place where you are joyfully seeking. I think that's what I want to say. And dancing away, yes, dancing away. Please dance away.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'd like to end with what Vaishnavi has put on the chat. You have inspired us again. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. I really appreciate your love and warmth that you are giving me today and all through with your comments and your likes and everything. I know that behind those likes there is a very human person there. So it is not just a thumbs up. There is a human sitting there who is responding, who has these emotional qualities in them. And I don't respond. I mean, I respond to DMs and probably not as much to the posts, but please know that I'm aware of how much love I'm showered with. I'm aware. And I'm deeply grateful for that also. Namaste to everyone. Please take care of yourself.